After years of working with motorcycles, I am finally going to reveal the 15 maintenance tricks that manufacturers deliberately hide to protect the profits of their official services. They are simple, quick modifications that give you more power and years of extra life for your engine without spending thousands at the dealership. The last trick on this list is a 5-minute modification that costs €12 and can literally save your engine from a catastrophe. And 97% of riders have no idea it exists. Take note because we are starting now. Number 15. Remove the airbox snorkel. Inside your motorcycle's airbox, there is a plastic restrictor that is strangling your engine, and removing it takes you 30 seconds without the need for tools. It is that simple. Lift the seat, look inside the airbox, and you will see a black plastic tube or a baffle that limits air intake. That is the snorkel. Manufacturers install it solely to comply with noise regulations during emissions testing. It serves no other purpose. It does not improve engine health, it does not extend its life, and it protects nothing. It is pure and simple bureaucratic paperwork. Well then, take it out. Most bikes from Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki, and Suzuki have them, and they are designed to be removable without tools simply by snapping them out. What happens when you remove it? Your engine receives more air immediately. The throttle response becomes sharper. You are going to notice it within the first 30 seconds of riding. The intake sound becomes slightly deeper. Not loud, just a bit more aggressive, more mechanical. And the best part is that this modification is completely reversible. If you ever need to pass a strict technical inspection, you put it back in its place and that's it. €0, zero effort, immediate gain. Number 14. Clean the throttle body every 8,000 kilometers. Your bike's throttle body is covered in carbon deposits that are stealing horsepower from you, and dealerships charge you €300 to spray it with €15 worth of cleaner. This is what they don't tell you. Electronic fuel injection systems allow oil vapors and carbon to accumulate inside the throttle body. This dirt restricts airflow, causes an irregular idle, and kills throttle response. You notice it as a small doubt, a hesitation when you twist the grip. The solution is to buy a can of throttle body cleaner. €15 at any spare parts store. You remove the air filter and you will see the throttle body, that round aluminum housing right behind the filter. Spray the cleaner directly onto the butterfly valve while someone slowly opens and closes the throttle. Spray generously. Let it sit for 5 minutes. Start the bike and let it idle for 2 minutes. The engine will run irregularly at first, burning off the dissolved carbon, and then it will stabilize. An acquaintance with a Kawasaki Ninja 650 did this after 15,000 kilometers. The carbon deposits were thick, black, and crusty, covering the butterfly valve. After the cleaning, the idle stabilized, the throttle response improved drastically, and fuel consumption dropped by half a liter per 100 kilometers. Dealerships know this takes 10 minutes. They charge you an hour of labor. Number 13. Use synthetic oil sooner than recommended. Manufacturers tell you to wait until 8,000 or 10,000 kilometers to switch to synthetic oil. That is a lie designed to sell you more maintenance services and ensure the engine suffers a bit more during break-in. Here's the truth. Modern engines are machined with such precision that they do not need long break-in periods with mineral oil. The break-in period was necessary decades ago when manufacturing tolerances were wide and metal surfaces needed time to seat against each other. Today's engines, machined by CNC, are ready for synthetic from day one. Switch to full synthetic at your first oil change around 1,000 kilometers. Synthetic oil provides better heat protection, superior lubrication, and longer intervals between changes. It flows better when cold and maintains viscosity in extreme conditions. It is more expensive, yes, but the protection it offers is unmatched. Number 12. Correctly enlarge the carburetor jets. If your bike has carburetors, like many classics or customs, this interests you. Your carburetor comes calibrated lean from the factory to comply with anti-pollution regulations. Enriching the mixture with a suitable drill bit takes you 5 minutes. Running too lean generates excessive heat, causes knocking, and damages the pistons over time. A slightly richer mixture provides better throttle response, lower combustion temperatures, and more power. The trick is to remove the jets. They are usually removed with a flathead screwdriver. You will see a tiny little hole in the center, which is what doses the fuel flow. Use a drill bit one size larger than the current one. For example, if the main jet measures 0.5 millimeters, drill to 0.7. Do it slowly with a hand pin vise, never with an electric drill. You want precision, not speed. Clean the jet well after drilling to remove any shavings. A friend with a Honda Shadow drilled his main jet one size larger. The bike stopped backfiring on deceleration, which is a symptom of lean running. The engine ran 10 degrees cooler on long trips, and the response from 4,000 to 6,000 revs became much punchier. But be careful, drilling too much will make the mixture very rich, and the spark plugs will foul with carbon. Start with one size larger, test and adjust if necessary. Number 11. Remove the exhaust catalytic converter. Your bike's exhaust has a catalytic converter that is strangling the engine. Removing it gives you between 5 and 10 additional horsepower immediately. Manufacturers install catalytic converters to meet emission standards. They work by restricting exhaust flow and creating back pressure. That back pressure chokes the engine, reducing power and response. On most bikes, the catalytic converter is a cylindrical section in the mid-pipe right before the silencer. If you remove the pipe and look inside and see a honeycomb structure, that is the catalytic converter. You have two options. Replace the entire mid-pipe with a direct flow aftermarket version, or cut out the catalytic converter and weld in a straight pipe. If you weld it yourself, it costs you $0. If you buy an aftermarket pipe, about 150 euros. The warning is clear. This modification is illegal for road use in most countries. You will not pass the technical inspection, but for track or off-road use, it is one of the best investments in terms of euros per horsepower. Number 10. Widen the spark plug gap. Spark plugs come with an electrode gap that is too narrow from the factory. Opening it by 1/10 of a millimeter gives you better combustion and more power. Manufacturers set spark plugs with a conservative gap to ensure easy starting in all conditions, sub-zero temperatures, high altitude, or weak batteries. But if you ride in normal conditions, a slightly larger gap creates a larger, hotter spark that ignites the mixture more completely. Remove the spark plugs and check the gap with a feeler gauge. The factory standard is usually between 0.7 and 0.8 millimeters. Open it to 0.9 or 1.0 millimeters using a spark plug gap tool. An acquaintance with a Suzuki GSX-R 750 opened his plugs from 0.7 to 0.9 millimeters. The bike started better when hot. The response below 4,000 revolutions improved notably, and fuel consumption dropped because the combustion was more complete. But there is a limit. If you open the gap too much, the ignition coil cannot generate enough voltage to jump that distance, and you will have misfires. Start with 0.9, test and adjust. Number 9. Cut the oil filter open at every change. The used oil filter contains critical information about your engine's health. Cutting it open takes you 3 minutes with a pipe cutter. At every oil change, save the old filter. Use a pipe cutter to open the casing longitudinally. Inside, you will find the folded filter paper. Unfold it carefully and inspect it under good light. Look for metal particles, glitter, or small chunks. Small amounts of fine metal dust are normal, that is regular wear. But if you see bits of metal, copper glitter, or aluminum particles, you have a serious problem developing. Copper indicates wear on the connecting rod bearings. Aluminum suggests piston damage. Pieces of steel mean wear on gears or cams. A friend with a Harley-Davidson cut his filter after 15,000 kilometers and found tiny copper particles, premature bearing wear. He checked the oil pressure and discovered the pump was failing. He replaced it for 400 euros. If he had waited for a catastrophe, the repair would have been 5,000 euros to rebuild the engine. This simple inspection gives you an early warning of problems before they turn into expensive disasters. Dealerships never suggest this because they benefit from catastrophic failures that require complete engines. These 7 tricks are already going to give you more power and reliability, but what comes next is the true secret arsenal. We are talking about transmission adjustments, suspension pressures, and the ultimate trick that can double your engine's life. Get ready because this is getting serious. Number 8. Lubricate the chain every 500 kilometers, not every 1,000. Manufacturers recommend lubricating the chain approximately every 1,000 kilometers. That interval is way too long and is destroying your transmission prematurely. Modern O-ring or X-ring chains have sealed internal lubrication, but the exterior surface, links, and rollers need regular lubrication to prevent oxidation and reduce friction between the chain and the sprockets. Waiting 1,000 kilometers allows rust to form, increases friction, and accelerates wear on the chain, the sprockets, and the pinion. The solution is to lubricate every 500 kilometers, half of the recommended interval. Use a specific motorcycle chain lubricant. Do not use WD-40, which is too light and evaporates quickly. Apply the lubricant to the inside of the chain while slowly spinning the rear wheel. Let it sit for 10 minutes so it penetrates the seals well, and then wipe it with a rag to remove the excess, because that excess only attracts dirt and forms an abrasive paste. I have seen cases of two friends with the same Kawasaki Versys. One followed the factory interval of 1,000 kilometers, and his transmission kit lasted 29,000 kilometers, which is the average. The other lubricated every 500 kilometers on an identical bike. His chain and sprockets reached 45,000 kilometers, 55% more durability. Each lubrication costs you €2 and 5 minutes of your time. The total extra cost over the life of the chain is about €30. The savings from not having to change the complete kit prematurely is €300. The math is simple. Number 7. Adjust the clutch cable slack. The clutch cable often comes with too much slack from the factory, and that is causing the clutch not to disengage completely, destroying the plates without you even noticing. Manufacturers adjust the cable with slack to ensure there is no drag when cold or with a worn cable, but excess slack means that when you pull the lever, the clutch doesn't fully separate. The plates rub slightly, generating heat and accelerating wear silently. You will notice this if you find it hard to find neutral with the engine running, or if the gears engage with a clunk, especially from first to second. To adjust it, locate the adjuster on the lever itself or at the other end of the cable by the engine. Aim to have between 2 and 3 millimeters of free play at the end of the lever before feeling resistance. Any slack greater than that means your clutch is not working properly. A friend with a Honda CB500 had 8 millimeters of slack, which was the factory setting. The gears shifted hard, especially from first to second. He adjusted it to 3 millimeters and the improvement was immediate. The gears started going in like a knife through butter. After 24,000 kilometers, upon opening the clutch, the plates showed 30% less wear than what the manual stated. The cost is $0 and the time 3 minutes. The dealership will charge you €800 for a new clutch when yours dies prematurely. Number 6. Bleed the brake fluid every year. Brake fluid is hygroscopic, which means it absorbs moisture from the air over time. That moisture accumulates in the circuit and destroys your braking system from the inside. Manufacturers recommend changing it every 2 years to reduce maintenance costs during the warranty period, but that interval is too long if you care about safety and component longevity. Water in the circuit lowers the fluid's boiling point, which can cause brakes to fade exactly when you need them most, during hard braking or intensive use on mountain roads or tracks. Furthermore, moisture causes internal corrosion in the master cylinders, caliper pistons, and ABS units. The solution is to bleed the brake fluid every year, not every 2. Buy DOT4 fluid, which is worth about €10 a bottle, and you will need 2 for a complete bleed. Use a bleeding kit or ask a friend to help you pump the lever while you open the bleeders. I know a track rider who bled the brakes on his Yamaha R one every 12 months instead of every 24. After 65,000 kilometers, his calipers were like new inside with no trace of corrosion. A friend of his with the same bike and mileage, but following the factory interval, had to rebuild the calipers because internal corrosion had damaged the pistons. A €400 repair. New fluid every year costs €20. The choice is yours. Choice is Number 5. Use a lower tire pressure than recommended. The sticker on your bike with the recommended pressures is designed for a very specific situation: maximum load and fuel efficiency. It is not designed to offer maximum grip or the best ride quality if you are riding alone. If you ride without a passenger and without luggage, you can and should use lower pressures to increase the contact patch and improve grip. Factory pressures are usually 2.5 bar in the front and 2.9 in the rear for most naked and sport bikes. Try lowering to 2.2 in the front and 2.6 in the rear if you are riding solo. You will notice that the bike feels more planted in corners, that you have more grip, and that the ride is more comfortable because the tire absorbs irregularities better. You will also notice that wear becomes more uniform because you aren't permanently riding on the center tread. But be careful, lowering the pressure too much causes the sidewalls to overwork, heat up more than they should, and they could blow out. For starters, do not drop more than 0.3 bar at once compared to the factory recommendation, and observe the wear and behavior. Number 4. Correctly adjust the suspension sag. Your bike's suspension comes from the factory adjusted for a rider weighing about 75 kilos. If you weigh more or less than that, your bike does not handle well, period. Sag is the amount the suspension compresses under your weight. If it is too little, the suspension is too stiff and doesn't work. If it is too much, it is too soft and dives under every braking maneuver. To adjust it, measure the static sag, which is the difference between the bike with the wheel in the air and the bike with your weight on it in a riding position. You should have between 25 and 35 millimeters of rear sag. Adjust the spring preload to achieve this. A rider weighing 110 kilos had a Triumph Street Triple with factory settings. His sag was barely 15 millimeters, the suspension was rock hard, and the bike bounced over every bump. He increased the preload to achieve 30 millimeters of sag. The transformation was brutal, more grip, more confidence in corners, and much more comfort. This costs nothing if you do it yourself, and it takes 20 minutes with a tape measure and a friend. The dealership charges you 150 euros for this same adjustment. Number 3. Use higher octane gasoline than required. Your bike's manual says to use 95 octane. Using 98 instead gives you more power and protects your engine from knocking. This is what manufacturers don't tell you. They specify the minimum octane, not the optimum. Higher octane gasoline resists detonation better, which allows the engine's ECU, if it is modern and has a knock sensor, to advance the ignition timing to take advantage of it. The result is more power, better response, and lower combustion temperatures. Additionally, higher octane gasolines usually contain more detergent additives that keep the injection system clean. A friend with a BMW S1000RR switched from using 95 to 98 octane and lost 3 horsepower on the dyno. No, just kidding. He gained 3 horsepower just from the automatic ignition advance. The engine temperature dropped 12 degrees during sporty riding because the combustion was more controlled. The price difference is about 4 euros more per tank. If you do the math, it is a minimal investment compared to the cost of rebuilding an engine due to detonation. Number 2. Never leave the motorcycle idling to warm it up. You have been told that you need to leave the bike idling for 5 minutes before starting off. That is a lie, and it is destroying your engine. When the engine runs at idle, it warms up very slowly. Combustion temperatures are low and fuel vaporization is incomplete, which generates carbon deposits on valves, pistons, and spark plugs. The oil takes longer to reach its optimum working temperature, meaning that for a longer period, lubrication is deficient. The correct procedure is to start, wait 30 seconds for the oil to circulate and pressure to build, and then drive gently, not exceeding 4,000 or 5,000 revolutions, until the engine reaches its operating temperature. By driving slowly, the engine warms up 5 times faster than at idle, and all components, including the oil and the catalytic converter, reach their optimum range much sooner. A mechanic tested this with 2 identical bikes. One was warmed up at idle for 5 minutes before every ride. The other was driven gently after 30 seconds. At 60,000 kilometers, he dismantled both engines. The engine warmed at idle had thick carbon deposits on valves and pistons. The engine driven gently was clean inside. The first one needed a cylinder head overhaul at 80,000 kilometers. The second one passed 120,000 without problems. Number 1. Change the oil every 3,000 kilometers, not every 10,000. And we have reached number 1. The most important trick, the one that can double the life of your engine, the one that manufacturers do not want you to know because it breaks their business of selling new motorcycles. Manufacturers recommend oil changes every 8,000 or 10,000 kilometers. Those intervals are calculated so that the engine holds up well during the warranty period but starts showing wear right after. They want you to buy new bikes, not keep yours forever. Change the oil every 3,000 kilometers. Modern synthetic oil does not degrade chemically, but it accumulates contaminants, combustion byproducts, microscopic metal particles, fuel dilution, and moisture. Those contaminants act like sandpaper inside the engine, wearing down bearings, camshafts, and piston rings. With fresh oil every 3,000 kilometers, your engine never runs on dirty oil. Wear rates plummet. Engines last twice as long before needing a major repair. There is an unofficial study of 50 motorcycles over 10 years. 25 followed the factory intervals of 8,000 kilometers. The other 25 changed the oil every 3,000. Both groups used the same synthetic and covered similar mileages. The bikes with long intervals needed serious engine repairs at an average of 100,000 kilometers. The bikes with changes every 3,000 kilometers reached 200,000 kilometers on average before needing serious work, exactly double the useful life. Let's analyze the numbers. Changing the oil every 3,000 instead of every 9,000 means doing 3 times as many changes. Each change costs about 40 euros for oil and filter. Over 200,000 kilometers, that is about 1,200 extra euros in oil. But you save 5,000 euros from rebuilding the engine, you save 3,800 euros, and in the process you double the life of your bike. That is the secret the manufacturers hide. New oil every 3,000 kilometers turns any bike into a 200,000 kilometer machine without being open. 15 tricks that manufacturers do not want you to know. 15 ways to extend your engine's life, improve its performance, and save you thousands of euros in repairs and workshop visits. From removing the intake snorkel to changing the oil 3 times as often as the manual says, they all have one thing in common: they work. Now the decision is yours. Do you continue trusting maintenance intervals designed for your bike to die right after the warranty? Or do you start applying these tricks and enjoying a machine that will last you forever? Tell us in the comments which of these tricks you already knew and which one blew your mind. Are you one of those who still warm up the bike at idle, or one of those who have already started changing the oil every 3,000 kilometers? And if you want more workshop secrets, subscribe and hit the bell, because your bike deserves the best.